What is up, everyone? Welcome to Panfro Games, and after 100 hours of playing Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, I have finally made a tier list of all 25 levels currently in the game. And starting off with F tier, number 25, the worst level in the entire game is Jinx. And my reasoning for this is Jinx usually feels like the most random win or lose situation. It's always a close one between a few people at the very end. And the latency on grabs is pretty atrocious here. It looks like half the time you're getting grabbed across the screen and then you're jinxed, and sometimes you just can't grab people for some unknown reason. It's very hit or miss. Luckily, this level is rarely seen, but I do think it is currently the weakest level in the entire game. Number 24, Perfect Match. Perfect Match is a weak level overall for me because it feels like no one ever dies on it. I know there are like those videos where you see a bunch of people just die, but if you play the game a lot, you know that's few and far between. At most, like two or three, maybe four people die on this level, and it's usually just on the last one. But the first two are relatively easy. I feel like the level can be vastly improved if they made it so you would have to jump in between every block instead of just having to run in between the gaps when all the blocks are up, because that would make it more fun in my opinion. I just personally think it's way too easy and it shows up a little bit too much. Number 23 is Tail Tag. Tail Tag is, the issue of all tail games is pretty much when people grab you, it's either across the screen, the latency is all messed up, and it honestly doesn't work well. And solo tail tag is the worst offender of this. It's a little bit too long, and it's just, it's still a minute and a half, which is better than it was before, where it was 2.5 minutes. But still, it feels like nothing matters until the last 10 seconds in all reality. And then there is strategy to try to keep your tail as long as possible, but nothing can beat latency and people bad connections. So tail tag is unfortunately just it's just not a good level right now with the current latency issues in the game. Number 22, also in D tier, is Royal Fumble. So yeah, it's hard to imagine seeing a final level this low, but as I said in Tail Tag, Royal Fumble is also just not a good level because of the same exact problems. Yes, they lowered the timer down to 1.5, which does improve it. However, it still doesn't get over the fundamental issue of latency and people grabbing all across the screen on you, and it just doesn't feel fair. Even if it actually is fair, it doesn't look fair on your screen, and the latency issues are pretty atrocious in this game right now. So until a patch, this level will have to stay low. Luckily, they did nerf the presence of this level because so many people were complaining about it, so that is why it is so low. Going on to C tier, we're getting to number 21, which is Team Tail Tag. So Team Tail Tag is ranked one tier higher than Royal Fumble and Tail Tag because of the team-based nature of it. It is a lot less stressful because you are with your team, so it is easier to progress because only one team loses. Same problems as other tail games where, yes, it is a little bit laggy, and it only really matters at the very end, the last 10 seconds. However, it is fun to play with your friends on. I personally had a lot of fun just like swapping the tails back and forth between friends, just trying to troll people. So there's my enjoyment with it. So I do think it is overall an average level. It could be better if the latency issues were fixed. The next level here is DoorDash. DoorDash is, it's an alright level. It really, it's very simple. It doesn't do anything bad overall, but I don't think it's great either. Hoarders is also at C tier. My issue of Hoarders, though, there is some pluses and minuses to Hoarders, and my thing with Hoarders is it can be incredibly easy or incredibly frustrating depending on what team you are and depending on how your teammates are, which applies to a vast majority of the team games. There's always that caveat of your team being absolute trash. I feel like Hoarders is a game that you could potentially carry in. If you play defense and keep your balls safe, like you can pretty much carry your team. However, you never know how it's going to go. I think overall it is a average level. There's some good points and there's some bad points to it, but it's definitely on the lower end of the levels so far. The next level is also a team game, is Hoopsie Daisy, and Hoopsie Daisy sort of has the same similarities to Hoarders, where in any other team game, where if your team's just garbage, you're gonna completely lose. And Hoopsie Daisy, it doesn't require a somewhat smart team to try not to overlap in situations on different areas. However, I do think it's a generally fun game. I think the idea is very creative. I like the whole idea. Gold rings are random, so there is some RNG to it, but I do think it works out for the better mostly. However, going through rings does have latency issues. Sometimes you go for in a ring before the other team, and they get the ring because the latency issues in this game can be pretty atrocious. The next level, once again, another team level, is Egg Scramble. Egg Scramble really does feel like a very average level overall when you go through the pros and cons of it. And as I said before, a bad team will completely get you rolled. I have seen teams just even have 0 eggs at the very end of the day just because they get completely rolled, and then people start rage quitting and leaving, and it's just a whole situation. And I do partially believe the timer on Egg Scramble should go down to help alleviate that problem. But there is a lot of strategy involved with it, and the golden egg keeping is good. Defending is like a good strat too. It feels really chaotic as well, even with strategies. Though I think it can be a really fun experience, but it can also be an incredibly poor experience. It's not a consistent level for players, but of course, with team games, bringing your teammates with you will make this a much easier time. Next level is rock and roll. So I think rock and roll is just, as I said, with team games, but especially if you have a team of 4 with you, this is like one of the easiest levels to go through. However, if you're dealing complete randoms and solo play, this can be such an agonizing, excruciating level. I think going through the first part where you're trying to avoid the obstacles is pretty easy overall, unless your team is sort of brain dead, and yeah, that can really just cost you the entire run. But the strategy of getting, once you get your ball past the ramp and then you're down going towards the goal, that's where this level can really break it or make it for you. And this is when having good teammates really shine. Good teammates will try to stop they'll have a couple people try to stop the other team balls, and the others will just try to push forward. But the struggle between offense and defense and not having any sort of voice can really make this level a hassle. Luckily, only one team loses, so once again, not everyone's going to go down, so it is nice, but it can be frustrating at times. So the highs are high, the lows are low, once again. So I think is another C rank level. And our last C rank level is Fruit Chute. I personally really enjoy Fruit Chute. However, there is RNG with this level, and this is a level that I don't always qualify on. I usually do. However, it is one of those levels where you can play your very best and you can just get totally owned. I mean, even just jumping down onto the Chute area at the very beginning, you can just fall off that platform like once or twice immediately, and if that happens to you, you can be completely out of it depending on the RNG of the fruit spawns. So that can be frustrating. And I mean, and it's also one of those levels where even the best strategies are hanging on the sides and just trying to go up and try to avoid the middle. You can still get owned by a random fruit or someone's body running into you. You can go all the way back to the end. So yeah, I mean, RNG, it's frustrating. However, I do think the idea is it's a great idea. I think it works for the game, but it is a frustrating level for players to go through. Number 14 is Hit Parade, which is the first B tier level on my list. So Hit Parade, I feel like it really gets the idea of what Fall Guys is trying to be. I think this race is very fun. It's a short race, which is good and bad, has pros and cons, but I do think it is a fun speedrun level if you're into that. Overall, it's very fair, and it does take a little bit of skill to get through the balls at the end and getting the right path. There is a little bit of a luck considering other players bumping into you in the slime. My only grievance with the level is if you get hit by a ball and fall off the stage, you're pretty much done, and there's no way to really come back from that unless you happen to be in first place when you got hit. But even then, pretty much near impossible. Number 13 is Jump Club. Jump Club is such a great level. It's super simple. All you got to do is jump. There's a lot of different strats you can try. It's a good level to try to kill people on. So I think that's fun. I don't think it's perfect. I do think it's a little bit too simple. However, we'll see with Jump Showdown later. The perfect version of the level, in my mind, what score that will be getting. Ranked number 12 is Seesaw. So Seesaw can be a little bit controversial for people. Some people think it is a difficult level at times. It can be unfair at times, and I do agree at the one spawn where it splits the spawns and one side will be able to get on the seesaw and the other side has to wait, and the only way to get to the other side is just keep killing yourself and hoping you respawn on the other side. I do think that is pretty bad, and they said they are going to look into fixing that. But besides that, I feel like this level is very iconic. I think this is a top 3 Fall Guys level in terms of recognition, and I think it's just generally a fun level. It's a little bit chaotic too. Overall, it's an enjoyable time, but yeah, it is a level that can still knock you out even if you're one of the very best players. Being at number 11 is Fall Mountain. I enjoy Fall Mountain personally. It is a little bit short though. I think that's what's holding it back, but it does work out in the sense that it's a short level, so you happen to lose. Oh, you're like, it's like whatever. And if you win, oh, it was a quick win. So it is nice that it is time considerate, but it does feel a little bit basic. And Fall Mountain feels like Fall Hill. It needs more oomph to it, more design to it, which they said they will be adding later. They'll be improving this as Fall Mountain was the first level created. But right now I do enjoy it. Overall, I don't moan and groan when I see it as the final level. Entering our top 10 and also entering A tier is Gate Crash. So Gate Crash is a fun level overall. I mean, I think it's actually one of the best levels overall of season A tier because it understands the fundamental reasons why we like races in this game. And there is it's a fast moving track. Even if you mess up, you're not completely out of it. There's a lot of different places where people get stuck in, so there always is comeback mechanics. The bumpers are pretty wild, and it can be a crazy time with those. And I do enjoy the final slime dive at the end. It just makes it pretty climactic. Number 9 is another race, which is Dizzy Heights. Dizzy Heights understands the race mentality even more than Gate Crash, in my opinion, because it has this whole aspect of the spinners to it too, which really just gives it a little bit more oomph, in my opinion. I really like the spinner mechanic, so that it probably gets a personal bias there. I do wish more levels had spinners in it, and I do enjoy the little bit of randomness of the balls at the end. It adds a little bit more fun. Number 8 is Block Party. Block Party is one of those levels that can be super intense, especially in the last 20 seconds. And I think one of the best parts about this level, which no other level really has, is that there is actually a set variation to this level. It's sort of technically 2 levels, because you can either get the part where the blocks are moving towards you and you have to get out of the way, or you get the part where all those blocks come at you and you have to jump over them repeatedly. So there is like a variation to it, which is very cool, and I wish more levels had something like that, to make it a little bit more spicier. It is a fun level to try to kill people on as well, and all survival levels usually are just pretty fun. And speaking of survival levels, we go into number 7, which is Rollout. Rollout is another fantastic level, and it's a level that gets better as time goes on with more people getting better at the game. Yeah, the level does last a little bit longer now because of people's experience. However, it makes it way more sweatier, where people are now trying to push each other off, and people are doing more riskier jumps because of the speeding up of the level as it goes on longer and longer. And I do like the music cues that do hint at how fast the level is going. Number 6, which could be a little bit controversial, is Fall Ball. With the patch that came out, Fall Ball has now been improved in the sense that there's no more odd teams for any team game, so it especially matters in Fall Ball. And what I really like in Fall Ball is that anyone can carry in Fall Ball. Yes, like it is a team effort, and you need a goalie. You need teammates who are, somewhat smart in the ways of how soccer works, just general offense and defense. But the whole fact of midfield can just score a goal within 5 seconds is really cool. It makes it super aggressive, and I do like the 2-minute and 30-second timer on it. Of course, usually a team gets blown out, and there is like some issue with people like leaving, but I think it's a really fun time overall, and personally is one of my favorites. It's an extra sweaty mode for me. Last round of A rank here is Jump Showdown, which, as I said earlier, Jump Showdown is just a better jump club because the aspect that the stage falls apart as you're playing is pretty great, and you get the double spinner going, so that's pretty wonderful. I do like how sweaty it gets when people are trying to kill each other, and honestly the very end is pretty crazy, especially when you have to jump from block to block just to get to the last 2 spaces, and then from that point on it's who can jump better. There is some minuses though with latency issues, and sometimes if 2 people are too good it can last forever. It was a little bit harder in that regard. Now getting to S tier, we are going to the level Tiptoe, and Tiptoe is one of my favorite levels overall in this game because Tiptoe is just. I really feel like this game understands what it's trying to do, especially in Fall Guys. It's one of those levels where you can be a total brave person and have a lot of courage to just dive all the way across and make it and really just set the tone for the match. Or you can be super slow and try to throw people into other tiles, or pay attention to the tiles and see which ones are shaking so you know which ones are fake. I think there's a lot of different strategies to it, but you got to be quick on your feet, and quick reactions will really matter, especially at the very end when you're two spaces away and you're like, do I jump here? Do I go? Is this it? Do I have to position myself in the right way? Number 3 in our number 1 race of the entire game is the Whirlygig. Whirlygig has so much tech to it. It's unbelievable. I feel like new tech gets discovered every single day in this level. There's different types of skips with the spinner. There's a lot of strategies to get to the middle perfectly. It's just a lot of fun things you can do with it, and it's a good race that it is nice and long, and there's still plenty of people who are not that good at it, so it is fun to watch people struggle at the end. But yeah, this is another amazing speedrun level, so highly recommend checking out the speedruns for that. Number 2 is Hex-A-Gon, and I feel like on certain days this can be my number 1 stage. Reason why Hex-A-Gon is so great is because it definitely takes the most skill in the entire game, in my opinion. There is a lot of skill in the terms of learning how to jump, knowing your ranges, knowing how to dive jump, knowing how to dive jump and jump in the center of a square, knowing how to position yourself in the right way, knowing how to just delay your jump as well. And there's a lot of positioning and strategy in that. And sometimes you got to be offensive and go for people, and sometimes you got to be super defensive and just slow hop and get yourself over there. So yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's completely chaotic. From 6 people, it definitely feels more like a jumping chess match. But if it's 20 people, absolutely chaotic. But if you can get yourself out of there into chaos and find yourself a little sanctuary, you'll be totally fine. And I feel like once you have mastered this stage, this is definitely one of the best ways to get a lot of crowns. And of course, the number 1 stage is Slime Climb. Slime Climb to me fully encapsulates the perfect Fall Guys level. It is a nice and long level. It is pure chaotic, but there's a lot of skill and a lot of knowledge of shortcuts and knowing when to be safe or when to be risky on certain aspects of the race. And it's such a good level because so many people die. I actually haven't seen the race ever get finished before. It's usually always just like 10 or 15 people make it. It's never at the full amount that it can qualify actually makes it in, which I think is really cool. And every little area of Slime Climb has its own skip, which is pretty awesome. And there's new tech being discovered like every week, so I'm sure this level is going to be pretty crazy in a couple of months when everyone can figure out what exactly to do on this level. And that wraps it up for my opinion on what are the best levels in Fall Guys. And please take a look at my full tier list here. Let me know in the comments what your favorite levels are in this game. And also, if you enjoy my content, please leave me a subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.